Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we'll be answering the question, is 35 too late to start saving for retirement? Most people worry about money, so we created the Wisdomites framework to help people eradicate financial stress, generate a passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy. We are fiduciary advisors who combine comprehensive financial advice with retirement planning and generational wealth management. Today's proverb of the day, better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without one. Share whatever your thoughts are in the comments below, and I'll share mine in the upcoming videos in the upcoming weeks. And then we will discuss and we'll see if we are in agreement or maybe other things that we can pull from this. So, on our question of the day that we're going to answer, is it too late to start saving for retirement at 35? The answer is no. If you're saying that, hey, am I going to be able to make as much by saving the same amount as I would have if I started in my 20s? Well, then the answer is no. You're not going to make the same amount by making the same investments that you did if you started, 10, 15 years earlier. But that doesn't mean that you can't start saving for retirement. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to hit your retirement goal. Sometimes it means that you have to make adjustments to the overall plan. And what I mean is, if let's say you have nothing in retirement and you have a household income of $100,000, and like most people, you want to retire somewhere on like 70, 80% of your income. Well, then you're going to decide, how much am I going to put away each month towards my retirement? And then you'll decide when you want to retire. So let's say that you just want to retire at 65 and you're going to put away 10% of your income, or roughly like $833 a month. Well, then you'll find that you will fall slightly short of what your goal is at 65. I do believe I have the numbers for you, and I do. So if you were to retire off of 6% of your income starting at 35 and stopping at 65, and making 10% on the investment, which is about what the average stock market return is, then you will have just under 2 million. You have $1.95 million. And while that sounds fantastic, and it is a very good number, the actual amount that you would need to live off of 70% of your income would be 2.9 million. So you're actually about $1 million short of what you need. And all that means is that you'll have a couple choices. Generally, if someone's like, you know what, I am committed to this lifestyle, this is how much I want to spend in retirement, well, then maybe it makes more sense for you to work an additional year to 5 years. In this instance, if you worked another 5 years, you would go up from 1.95 million to 3.26 million just by another 5 years. And that's in compounding interest when you have the amounts that you have, where by that time, just another 5 years makes a big difference. And so you'll end up well exceeding your goal almost by 500,000, by half a million. And then you can decide from there what you want to do. On the other end, you could say, well, you know what? Maybe I will keep my same 10%, but I will put more money towards lowering my overall bills and expenses so that I can live off of a different amount, like a lower amount. Or you may be someone that decides, well, I live in a state that has a pretty high cost of living, so maybe I can move to a different state or even a different country where there's a lower cost of living, so I'll be able to live the same life just off of a lower income. And this also can adjust how much you need, and it also will help you in that. Now, if you're someone that's like, well, look, Dre, I plan on being able to increase my income progressively over time. Let's say instead of that 10%, what if I was able to put away 20% every single month, starting at 35 with $0, same income, you're making about $100,000. Well, in that case, if you went up to 20%, you will end up with 3.93 million at the age of 65. So again, you'll have exceeded your goal, but this time almost by $1 million. And in return, you could retire a little bit earlier if you're saying, you know what, I don't really need that extra buffer. I'm totally comfortable with my plan. Well, that's great. Then you can retire 3 years earlier at 62 years old, and you'll be able to hit your goal and you'll be just fine. On the other end, you could make the adjustments that we already talked about. And those adjustments generally are going to be the same, where it's like, hey, I'm going to spend less. I'm going to get rid of a certain amount of debt. I'm going to move to a different area. You have those options available. And then the third one is, well, Dre, I am, like I feel really good. Like I'm committed to putting away the money that I need to. I've been reading about this FIRE approach where people are putting away a significant portion of their salary so that they can retire earlier. And I think that's fine as well. It really just becomes down to where are your values in the short term versus your values in the long term. For some, if you're trying to juggle family life and different expenses, as most people are in their 30s, where you may be getting married, expanding your family, buying a house, things like that, and we haven't even talked about your student loan debt, well, then you'll be like, okay, but if I want to put away, let's say 30% of my income, well, then you'll end up hitting about 5.86 million. So you have almost $6 million at the age of 65 if you did that with the same 10% return on your investments, and then you could retire even before 60 and still have $3 million. So the what I mean is the amount is going to adjust. It's going to change depending on how much you're putting in, how much you plan on living off of, and the overall expenses and the changes that you're going to have in your plan and your expectations. One thing worth noting is in this plan we made a couple of assumptions. One of them is we have not taken Social Security into consideration at all. If you have Social Security and you're like, hey, you know what, this is the amount that's going to come, well, then you could take that off of the overall income that you need. And then that will also shave some years off of the amount of money that you have to put away for retirement. On the other end, you also have where we're assuming 3% inflation each year. And at 3% inflation in the times that we're in, it's something that you're going to be like, okay, I believe it. That's important to consider inflation. Statistically speaking, as I've mentioned in a previous video, if you aren't considering inflation in your plan, you have to understand that every two decades, I mean, roughly it's like 17 years, but every 2 decades, your purchasing power cuts in half. And what that means is something that you could buy with $100 today, you'll need $200 in 20 years to be able to purchase that same item. And so you want to be able to take inflation into consideration. Also, we assume that you have a 2% increase in your salary each year. Now, some years it may be 0, some years it may be 15. We're just going to say, roughly the average is like 2%. So if you're increasing your salary by 2% and you're also going to be increasing the amount of money that you'll want in retirement because you'll want to maintain that salary each year, well, then that's something that we want to consider. Also, I do think it's pretty cool in the sense that don't say, well, this is my pre-tax income. Don't say, well, I make $100,000, so that's 70% of that is $70,000. You would also want to consider what you're actually living off of. What I mean is if you have, let's say $2,000 a month going towards a mortgage and you don't have a mortgage, well, technically you should take that amount off of your how much you're living on, because right, you're not actually going to be living off of that same amount. The same goes with the amount of money that you put in retirement. Any money that you're putting away in retirement, well, that's not money that you're living off of. That's so it's something that you should try to be meticulous as you can, because you may find that you're putting away a significant amount of money because you're just saying, well, this is how much I make, so that must be how much I live off of. But if you're not actually living off of that, then you may be able to shave some years off by just really getting specific with the amount of money that you actually are living off of and how much money you're actually going to need to live off of in retirement. So I'm always thankful for our time together. If you have any additional questions, I do have my free retirement planning that works training that you can go to obsidianwisdom.com/training. There you'll be able to be exposed to the entire Wisdometric framework, and I will go over each of the aspects of that to make sure that you have the ability to eradicate your financial stress and generate a passive income and build that prosperous retirement strategy. Until next time, Wisdomites, I'm always thankful for your time. And remember, wisdom is asking the right questions to allow yourself to get the right answer. Keep asking those questions and you'll keep getting those answers. Continue blessings.